There was a time when Rachel Ziegler was poised to become Disney's next golden girl. She had the look, the voice, the dream-come-true backstory. In this case, it wasn't Cinderella, but Snow White, handpicked from obscurity and handed the crown of a billion-dollar legacy. It was the kind of fairy tale Disney itself would have made a movie about. But this time, the movie was the story, and it didn't end in magic. It ended in disaster. A very public, very expensive disaster. Disney didn't just hand Rachel a script. They handed her a legacy. Snow White, the original princess. The one that started it all. A cultural icon, older than most people's grandparents. You'd think they would protect it, honors it, treat it with care, right? Wrong. They threw everything at it. Massive budget. Aggressive marketing. A full-blown rebranding of the classic tale. Reports say the film cost Disney over $250 million to produce, and that doesn't even include influencer campaigns, icon takeovers, or full theater branding. But inside the studio walls, things were already falling apart. Sources claimed the movie had no clear vision. One insider even called it a slow-motion identity crisis. The script was rewritten multiple times. Scenes were changed after poor test screenings. They couldn't decide on a tone. Was it magical? Political? Feminist? Nobody knew. They even reshot scenes just to insert more Robert Dario. And believe it or not, even the poisoned apple was redesigned 4 times just to satisfy toy marketers. When it finally hit theaters, things looked hopeful, for a moment. It made $3.5 million on preview night, not a disaster, but not great. Then came the free fall. When it landed on Disney+, it vanished faster than Cinderella's carriage. The raw numbers sounded good. 500 million minutes watched in the first week. But here's the twist, almost no one finished the movie. Viewers dropped off halfway. Hardly anyone added it to their favorites. And most never came back. But no one came back for a second watch. This wasn't just a flop, it became a hate-watch phenomenon. People streamed it just to see if it was as bad as the rumors. And then, they quit halfway through, frustrated, disappointed, sometimes even angry. Critics and fans alike tore it apart. Rotten Tomatoes, 29% from top critics. Audience score, 19%. On IMDb, the reviews were just as brutal. One viewer called it cringeworthy. Another said even their kids didn't like it. A parent shared, "My 6-year-old leaned over and whispered, 'This is boring,' 45 minutes in." That's not the kind of feedback Disney can spin into a meme. So where did Rachel Ziegler fit into all this? Right at the canter. Her face was everywhere, press tours, red carpets, magazine spreads. But instead of praise, the spotlight brought backlash. Old interviews resurfaced. In one, she dismissed the original 1937 Snow White as weird. In another, she called the prince a stalker. Her Gen Z sarcasm didn't land. Longtime Disney fans didn't hear bold commentary, they heard mockery. It didn't feel like a fresh perspective. It felt like she was laughing at their childhood. Social media erupted. #WokeWhite started trending. Clips from Rachel's interviews turned into memes, then roasts, then full-on takedowns. And just like that, the internet turned on her. What was meant to be a career-making moment spiraled into a full-blown PR disaster. And it didn't stop at bad reviews or bad vibes. It got personal. And that's when the cracks started to show. Because when you're the face of a $200 million failure, people don't separate the character from the actor, they come after both. And the more Rachel tried to speak up, the louder the backlash became. The fairy tale? It didn't just end. It turned into a nightmare. Rachel didn't disappear. She tried to explain. She opened up in an interview meant to show vulnerability. She admitted she was struggling, mentally, emotionally, everything. She said she felt completely alone in the storm, and that the noise just wouldn't stop. She said it plainly. "I'm a very mentally ill piece of human trying to keep it together." That kind of raw honesty should have sparked compassion. But the internet, it wasn't in the mood to forgive. The clips spread like wildfire, icon edits, YouTube reactions, Instagram reels, all chopped up, mocked, turned into content. What was meant to be a vulnerable, human moment became meme material. Creators laughed at her breakdown. Influencers reenacted her quotes like they were doing stand-up comedy. Sympathy never had a chance. Sarcasm always wins in the algorithm. Behind the scenes, Rachel sought help. She started therapy, got on anxiety medication, told People magazine she just wanted to feel safe walking through the world again. But the timing couldn't have been worse. Every time she took one step forward, the internet dragged her 2 steps back. Another clip resurfaced. Another brutal headline dropped. Another wave of mockery rolled in. And the worst part, Disney vanished. Literally, gone. No follow-up trailers. No revised posters. No marketing push. No merch relaunch. It was like they hit the eject button on the entire project, without even sending a goodbye. Retail giants like Target and Walmart quietly pulled the Snow White dolls from shelves. Theme parks removed her costume from gift shops. No new ads. No soundtrack push. No redemption arc. Disney didn't defend Rachel. They didn't explain the vision. They didn't say a single word. The only official comment? A dull line from Bob Iger during an earnings call. Our job is to entertain, not to advance any kind of agenda. That was it. No mention of Rachel. No mention of Snow White. Just a cold corporate shrug, like they ghosted their own billion-dollar brand. And Rachel? She was left hanging. Not officially fired. Not publicly cancelled. Just stuck. No new roles. No confirmed projects. Her team was still taking meetings, still pitching. But no one was biting. In Hollywood, they have a name for it, being on ice. Some call it Hollywood jail. That space where casting directors quietly pull your name from the list, but never say it out loud. No press release. No statement. Just silence. Studios don't want risk. They want time. They want to see if the storm passes. If people forget. But here's the thing. Forgetting isn't what the internet does best. Not when your face is tied to one of the most talked about flops in recent memory. People began comparing her to other stars who got quietly iced out. Katherine Heigl after the rumors of being difficult on set. Shia LaBeouf after the lawsuits and controversy. Gina Carrazzo after the tweet storm that ended her Star Wars career. And now, Rachel Ziegler, who didn't commit a crime, didn't lash out, didn't vanish. She just tried to carry the weight of a collapsing movie, and got buried beneath it. The sad truth, she had the talent. She still does. But Hollywood doesn't always reward talent. It rewards timing. And when the timing is off, when the script flops, when the press tour backfires, when the internet turns against you, it doesn't matter how good you are. What matters is how much baggage your name carries. And right now, Rachel Ziegler's name is heavy. There was a time when being cast as a Disney princess meant your career was about to skyrocket. You'd become a household name. Offers would pour in. Late-night interviews, fashion magazine covers, endorsement deals, all guaranteed. But for Rachel, playing Snow White didn't open doors. It slammed them shut. Now she's trapped in this strange in-between, where no one wants to say she failed, but no one's inviting her back either. The strangest part, no one knows what to do with her. She's not toxic enough to be canceller. She didn't do anything outrageous or unforgivable. But she's got this cloud over her, and no studio wants to be the one that bets wrong. That's how Hollywood works. Everyone's scared to be the first. First to take the risk. First to greenlight a project. First to believe in the comeback. Until someone else makes the first move, no one moves. Her team's trying, though. They've been pitching her for gritty indie films, low-pressure streaming series, even voice roles in animation. Anything to get her back on screen without the weight of a franchise crushing her again. But without a comeback story already scripted, without a viral redemption narrative, no one's leaping. Even her social media presence has changed. It's quieter now. Less glam. More raw. More real. But in an age where every word can be weaponized, even that's risky. Everyone's watching for the next out-of-context clip, the next cringe moment they can meme, mock, or cancel. And then, there's the industry itself. Disney took a hit, not just at the box office, but at its core. Snow White didn't just flop financially. It shook the brand. Executives started second-guessing everything. Projects already in production were suddenly restructured. Some were quietly scrapped. And behind closed doors, whispers spread. One insider claimed an exec called Snow White the tipping point. Rachel wasn't the only reason things fell apart, but she became the easiest person to blame. That's what happens when you're the face of a misfire. The media doesn't care who wrote the script. Audiences don't remember which executive greenlit the project. They remember who was front and center. And Rachel, she was everywhere. Posters, trailers, press junkets, viral sound bites. All roads led back to her. Whether she wanted it or not, she became the story. And now, in the quiet corners of the internet, her fans still hold on. They post old audition tapes, clips from West Side Story. They talk about her voice, her raw talent, her presence. But the general audience, They've gone quiet. Or worse, they've moved on. And that silence, it says more than hate ever could. It says, we're not interested anymore. Hollywood has seen comebacks from worse. People have bounced back from scandals, flops, even public meltdowns. But there's always a twist, a surprise casting, a breakout indie short, a viral moment that flips the narrative. Rachel Ziegler needs that moment. Not a PR stunt, not a forced apology tour. Something real. Something that reminds people why she was chosen in the first place. Because despite the disaster, despite the memes, despite the avalanche of backlash, she's still got it. The voice, the presence, the undeniable potential. The question now isn't if she's talented. The question is, will anyone give her a second shot? Will the machine that built her up so fast be willing to help rebuild her now that everything's crashed? Because that's the risk of becoming a symbol. Once the narrative is written, it's hard to rewrite the ending. She wore the crown. She gave everything she had. And when it all fell apart, she was left to carry the wreckage, alone. Maybe someone gives her another chance. Maybe she finds her way back through the noise. Or maybe, like a forgotten fairy tale, her story fades into the background, not with a bang, but with a whisper.